Modulating to Distant Keys by Daniel, Joe, Nassim, and Jennifer. Modulating to new keys adds variety and maintains the interest of the listener in a musical composition. However, modulation, particularly towards distant keys, can be a tricky endeavor. Without a firm understanding of established conventions used in modulation, a beginning composer can feel stuck in one key without a coherent idea of how to get out. From Baroque to jazz and modern music, composers explored and mastered the subtle art of modulating. Our objective is to outline some of these conventions and demonstrate them by performing musical examples of our own and a famous tune. First, let's address the difference between modulation and modal borrowing. Modulation occurs when the tonal center changes, not necessarily the key signature. For example, when the tonal center changes from E minor to G major, modulation occurs even though the key signature stays the same. Modal borrowing occurs when the harmonies are borrowed briefly from a parallel minor or major key, but the tonal center remains the same. Modal borrowing. Modal borrowing occurs when chords from the parallel key are used only for a moment. This convention became popular with 19th century composers. Modal borrowing, particularly from the minor key, added a somber touch to a major composition. Borrowing from the minor key occurs most often. This is due to the lowered sixth scale degree. In this example, we borrowed the half diminished 2 and fully diminished 7th chord. Modulation via relative minor and major keys and common chords. Using relative major and minors along with closely related keys can make modulation to distant keys very easy within a few chords. This can be accomplished through a common chord modulation. A common chord modulation, or sometimes referred to as a pivot chord modulation, occurs when a shift in tonal center is achieved by pivoting off a chord that both keys share. Predominants are the most common pivot chords, as they serve as either the new tonic or dominant chords in the next key. Two, three, four, 1, 2. Chromatic modulation. Chromatic modulation occurs when no pivot chord exists and a new tonality and key signature is presented without any intermediate harmonies diatonic to both keys. In some cases, a chord in neither the old key or new key may be presented as a transitional chord. A chromatically altered pitch often acts as the new leading tone into the new key or the new fourth scale degree. This modulation could be a faster way to reach more distant tonalities, although it lacks the smoothness of the subtle modulation through parallel keys. This concludes our tutorial on modulating the distant keys. Now let's listen to Lullaby of Birdland.
1, 2, 3, 4.